Good morning. I hope you're doing good this morning. You know, we seem overwhelmed by what's going on in the world today, don't we? I mean, it seems like, on my phone, I don't know about yours, but conservative news just pops up, and I'll see a Senate hearing committee and a senator that's battling to keep our freedoms, and then I'll hear these other things, and it's overwhelming at times to realize what's really happening in our own nation and all these shortages, the high cost of everything, inflation. We could go on and on. And so many times people, they say to me, well, I just feel like God's abandoned me, or maybe he's abandoned this country, or maybe he's just turned away from all of us. Well, there is the wrath of abandonment when a country does turn away from God, or even when an individual turns away from God. But I want to talk about something a little more specific. When people say that God's having nothing to do with me or nothing to do with my life, as for instance in Zephaniah chapter 1, speaking to Judah, he said, "These people are settled in complacency, who say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, nor will he do evil. Therefore their good shall become booty, and their houses a desolation." He said there's a punishment for that. There's a consequence to thinking that God's not going to react to what people do, or to what people think, or to what people say. He does. That means he reacts to us as his children in a very special way. When you think about these human bodies for just a minute, just think about just a couple of things. In one day, your heart is going to pump 2,500 gallons of blood through your body. It's going to be cleansed. It's going to be circulated by arteries and veins. And all of this factory that's going on inside of you has raw materials going in through the process that is very pleasant, which is eating and drinking. So God's manufactured us in such an incredible way. Think about your eyes for just a minute. Think about the rods and cones in your eyes. That's the part of your eye that's in your retina that's receiving the light that is out there, and it's changing that light and those images into electrical signals that are sent to the brain at supersonic speed, that is developed, processed in your mind, and stored all at the same time. I remember when I used to be somewhat of a photographer, and I would have to develop my film and all that. You'd have to wait on that. You had to get the chemicals right and all those things. And yet God's presented a way in our brains, in our eyes, to do that instantaneously. Now think about this for just a minute. Job asked God 77 questions when he felt like he had mistreated him, he had abandoned him, he had given him no answers, and he couldn't understand what was going on. What he didn't know is up in glory above was a great spectacle taking place in which Job was the main player. Now, you think about this for just a second. He didn't know the answer to any of those questions because they were rhetorical. They were meant for God to say, you didn't lay the foundations of the world. You didn't create the snow. You didn't do all that. Well, if I can do all of that, maybe I can take care of you. Does it mean we don't do our part? No. Does it mean we don't pray? I hope we do. Does it mean that we cease to listen to God? Certainly not. But it also means that we have faith in God, that he's got this much more than we could ever imagine. What does he want from us? Trust and obedience. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus. Yes, he will call us to do our part in the midst of this changing world. And we'll be called upon to do that. But we shouldn't do it with anxious hearts. We can hear the news, but it doesn't mean it has to produce anxiety, because the God we serve has this whole thing in his hands. Is there a changing of the guard? You better believe it. Is there something drastic going on in this country? You better believe it. Are we to respond? Yes, we are. In prayer, listening to God, and saying, I'm ready to do my part. And it'll begin on my knees, trusting you that you've not abandoned me, you've not abandoned my family, you've not abandoned this country. God bless you, and have a great day.